Today we shall talk about thoughts I had after watching Loki episode 4. Again, this is not a scripted video. I have some points. I watched Loki half an hour ago and these will be my fresh thoughts, kind of a reaction review. The first point I would like to state here is that TVA is indeed the villain, not Lady Loki. It is clear and evident here, as I had predicted in my previous videos. The TVA is not governed by any godly being who has the right to decide where and what people or any species should do. The entire thing might be running on autopilot for all we know. The three timekeepers are shown to be just figureheads. They are androids and they are not making the decisions here. All signs point to a deep corruption in the entire system. A system which decides the fate of the entire universe is corrupted, thus making the entire TVA an authoritarian system which is rotten to its core. Definitely does not deserve the control of entire multiverse and to make decisions on how people, species or any kind of thinking person should behave. Someone has taken the control of the TVA. Now the TVA might have been created for some purpose in the past and that purpose had been fulfilled, but the TVA now has been taken over by some other entity. Which other entity that might be is unknown, but we can be pretty sure that the intentions of those entity or entities is not that of benevolence. Definitely deception is involved here. So I have two guesses which entity might have taken over the TVA. My first guess is that the judge, the Mobius's boss, is the person who is pulling the strings everywhere. At the start of the episode, when we see the past of Sylvie when she was a young girl, she was taken by the TVA into the TVA system by the judge herself when she was a Minuteman. In that scene, we see a small reaction on her face when Sylvie kicks her and runs away. There is a small expression on her face which I think is Sylvie accidentally triggering her memories with that enchantment thing. When she was young, Sylvie might not have known to control that power of hers, but she has said in the third episode that she learned this herself. So it was already inside her, that information. This might have triggered her memories, the judge's memories, and she knew what to do with that information. So instead of revealing that information to others and helping others break free of the TVA, she consolidated power there and took over the TVA. That might be one possibility. But I can be wrong. She was just startled that little Loki stole her TemPad, and that might be it. And that was a failure on her part, which has haunted her career. That's why she is so bitter about this. My other guess is that some other Loki has taken over the TVA. It might be possible because someone is pulling the strings. If the entire TVA is running on autopilot, that is a much scarier situation. Because if that is the case, so many universes have been deleted or completely removed just on an arbitrary basis. Sylvie at the start of the episode says this awesome line, which is along the lines that universe wants to break free and that's why it manifests chaos. Such a wonderful line, which essentially means that chaos is the breathing part of life, and where there is chaos, there is life. If complete order exists, that's not life, that's just a machine. And chaos is the real sign of living, breathing, organic life. That was an excellent line, and that's what the theme of the series again comes back to. The two Lokis are a manifestation of the universe to break free this controlled order that was created by some beings. And this is the way the universe is fighting back in the form of the two Lokis. Speaking of Sylvie, the show introduced her past finally. I think that was one episode too late, but at least they showed that past. When they displayed how she went through the same trials and tribulations as adult Loki, but as a child, that immediately put me into her corner, because no one wants to see a child go through such tough situations. That was an effective tool used by the showrunners to transform completely Lady Loki, Sylvie, from an antagonist, supposed antagonist, to a proper protagonist. And I think almost 100% of the audience is in her corner that, yeah, she is right to say that TVA is wrong and free will needs to exist in a proper format, in a proper way. Entire past being displayed in the third episode, it might have been more beneficial to the showrunners, because the third episode became kind of a filler where Loki as well as the audience were trying to understand the past of Sylvie and not getting anything from her. And her behaviors, her mannerisms were kind of off-putting because she was not giving us the information that we wanted. In the previous video, I said that her weird mannerisms and quirks and not understanding social cues might be a result of the TVA hunting her for her entire life, and then her mannerisms can be excused. She would not have lived a normal life anywhere. She was always on the run from the TVA, so she would not have developed these social cues and understanding how to live a normal life. So that was indeed true, but that I had to take that leap of faith that might be true. But my friends were not so understanding of the character. They were quite irritated by her behavior, where Loki was trying to get this cooperation with her and she was being so weird. They said that, what's going on? Had they introduced this information previously, the third episode would not have felt like a filler episode. So if the audience knew what the past of Sylvie was in the third episode, but Loki did not, we would have cheered for Loki to grab that information from Sylvie and make her talk. So that would have been much more an engaging episode, but better late than never. They properly showed her past, and I am 100% with her. That's good. Speaking of Loki and Loki, the showrunners are romantically linking them. And that makes me feel kind of weird, because they are essentially the same person, but they are also kind of the opposite people when we consider their personalities. As I spoke in the last episode, Loki is kind of gung-ho, improvisational kind of guy, whereas Sylvie is methodical. She is always plan-oriented, detail-oriented person. It's because their paths diverged a long time ago when Sylvie was a child. So essentially they are different people, but also the same person. It is a weird combination, but it is also multiverse, so rules are different from normal life. Mobius echoed 50% of my views when he spoke to Loki during the interrogation, that the relationship is twisted and sick kind of a romance. And it is kind of true, but also not kind of true. But I think as the episodes go on, I would not be bothered about it so much. Let's see where it goes. As I've spoken in my previous videos, the friendship between Loki and Mobius is a variation of buddy cop genre that was popular in the 80s, in which Loki and Mobius try to influence each other's personalities and become better people as a result. In the first two episodes, Mobius had influenced Loki to be free of his past, to get rid of his hate towards others as well as himself, and not be a unidirectional man who always has to be an evil guy. He does not need to be that. In the second episode itself, Loki is shown to be influencing Mobius as well, to be free and not feel guilty about his desires and wants, to let loose a little bit. In this episode though, he makes a complete transformation for Mobius when he says that Mobius is lying to himself. That really hit the nail on his head, because Mobius indeed is lying to himself. What he wants to do and what his desires are, he has been suppressing them for a very long time. He likes jet skis. He never has been able to enjoy this. He always asks his boss various questions. He wants to meet the Timekeepers, but he's never allowed to. His curiosity is always suppressed. If Mobius thought about these things day in or day out, or at least once a day, he would have been depressed. And it is true, he is kind of depressed. So the first time in his life, Mobius is standing for his individuality instead of the collective good. And the influence of Loki is that you should have agency for your own self is taking precedence here. The theme of free will and determinism is flowing from the main character of Loki into the supporting characters. So Mobius himself is trying to think for himself and questioning the authority. That is a beautiful progression we have seen from in a very small span of time, which is believable. So he goes to find out what actually is going on because his curiosity is eating him up. He meets with his boss as usual after they have solved the case, and he tries to understand what is going on. But as usual, the boss is refusing him all the information. Before, Mobius has always capitulated and dropped the case that I understand this is out of my pay grade and I will leave. But in this case, he does not give up. Then the judge's true nature really shines through. Previously, Mobius had always yearned for a friendship with the judge, his boss. And the judge had always signaled that this is a colleague situation, that we are not friends. But in this case, when Mobius is getting close to the truth, she immediately flips a switch and tells him that she cares for him and she wants to protect him. She does not want this friendship to get away, and this friendship is important to her. Now, that might be true, but she picked a very convenient place to display those emotions, to shut Mobius up. Thankfully, Mobius's curiosity is above his desire for validation. He goes away and understands what's actually going on, helps Loki. By the way, when TVA prunes Mobius, I was shocked to my core and kind of respected them for taking such a drastic step of killing a very likable character. We find out eventually that it is a teleportation device. Pruning means you get teleported to some universe or dimension, which serves some kind of a jail, I think, because when Loki gets transported to that universe, we see other Lokis who might have gotten pruned. Had they killed Mobius for real, I would have respected it. I would have been sad, just like I was sad during the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. But I would have respected the show much more. So that's not the case. So I'm kind of disappointed in that particular section. But this opens up so many avenues about different Lokis and different versions of even Mobius, I think, that I am excited to see what happens next. The post-credit scene was quite interesting. I enjoyed that. 4 different various Lokis were shown in different getups. All the Lokis were a variation of different comic versions that have come before. I don't know if that lizard Loki is in any previous sections of comics, but that was quite fun to watch. So this was my video on Loki episode 4. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.